Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You can still log in. The code's up here at the top. So, cell phones in schools. Okay, we're going to watch this quick video, and then we're going to use it as kind of our practice for writing a thesis statements. Okay, so we're going to watch this.
Today, 95% of teens have access to a smartphone, and 45% self-report that they're online almost. Is their prevalence in schools.
It would be a rally, right? And the rallies were getting students pumped up for a particular event, and students would be Snapchatting it the whole time. So really, they weren't experiencing it and being present. They were behind the screen.
The average kid gets their first smartphone at age 10. That's 5th grade. Most will open their first social media account within the next few years. But some schools are beginning to question the wisdom of allowing kids to enter the classroom with tiny computers and social networks in their pockets.
There's so many studies that have come out in the last few years about the social anxiety, stress, low self-esteem, teen suicide is up. Studies are showing and proving how destructive these devices can be, not only the device itself, but the social media aspect of it.
These concerns, along with a general annoyance at phone-gazing concert goers, led 32-year-old Graham Dugoni to build a device called Yonder, which is essentially a locking smartphone pouch. Users drop their phone in, the pouch locks, and can only be reopened with a large magnet.
If something feels weird about modern life to young kids who are dealing with a lot of angst and anxiety in general, maybe it has something to do with relating to the world primarily through a screen 8 hours a day.
Silvestri first heard about Yonder from an English teacher at San Lorenzo, who was fed up with her students' lack of focus.
She was really frustrated with the relationships that she had with her students in her classroom. And a lot of it revolved around cell phone use. She was constantly telling students to please put their phones away.
The teacher, Gina Spears, piloted Yonder in her classroom, and Silvestri was so impressed with the results that she implemented it school-wide, beginning in the 2017-2018 school year. Now, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., students must lock their phones inside a Yonder pouch. According to Silvestri, not only has this led to improved grades and a drop in disciplinary issues, but a distinct change in how students relate to each other.
Uno is back at an all-time high. Our students are playing Dungeons and Dragons. They're out playing baseball. They're out playing volleyball and soccer, basketball. They're reading, doing homework. I go to other schools and I don't see that. The schools are quieter. Students have their heads down. You'll see them standing in a circle, all texting each other, or on social media, or playing games.
However, some still go to great lengths to stay connected to their devices.
Students will have multiple cell phones to try and avoid doing Yonder. Like they will have some burner type phone that will go into the pouch and they'll still have another phone on them.
Overall, the student response has been mixed, with many expressing initial annoyance while also acknowledging the upsides.
Watch, I'm telling y'all.
It feels different, feel kind of awkward not having it in your pocket, not expecting it to be there.
Everybody was trying to start petitions to stop it. We'd have thought that they were taking a right for us to have our phones. That shouldn't be something the school should have a right to do.
In this day and age, technology is a part of life, regular life, so we should be using it in school.
It was kind of annoying at first, but then I saw the difference between my old school and this school.
I see more people interacting rather than being on their phones, especially at lunchtime and break time.
It helps me out concentrate more in class and not hearing that vibration and not having that my mind telling me to see it.
Before in class, when I check my phone, I'll get in trouble, or I'll be sneaky about it and hide it. Yeah, but now I don't do it.
In total, Yonder has partnered with over 1,000 schools across the United States, Canada, and Europe, and worked with over 400 performers, including Dave Chappelle, Jack White, and Chris Rock. The company does little in the way of advertising, so Dugoni says many schools have learned about it through these big-name comedians and musicians who require attendees to lock up their phones at their shows. But it's not just entertainers and school administrators who are taking note.
We hear from people all over the place. We're in courts, we do tons of weddings, events, everything down to dentist's office. It's the whole concept applies and relates to everything.
For larger performances, Yonder typically charges $2 per head. And the price for implementing Yonder in schools varies from $15 to $30 per student, depending on school size. As one of Yonder's first school partners, San Lorenzo received a discounted rate, and from Silvestri's perspective, it's been well worth it.
We have a lot of human interaction, a lot of building of relationships. It's what schools should be like, and it's what I think the world should be like, what events should be like. I can't imagine now going backwards. I can't imagine a school that would allow cell phones during the day.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have lots of thoughts about that Yonder program.
My eyes burn.
So you're going to be able to come up with a thesis about what you think as we learn how to do that. Okay, so should schools lock up phones? Okay, so go ahead and put in your responses.
Where do we write our response?
If you're on the Pear Deck, if you joined that, there will be a spot for you to put your response. You have to go to the website, join Pear Deck, and then type in the code.
What's the code?
GRBNLB.
How do you submit your response?
You just type it in there.
Okay. So GRB
NLB. Yep, so I can see your responses, but as you type them in.
I don't think that.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of no's. I don't think so, but not a lot of people defending their responses. There are some yeses, definitely. Yes, but not all day. No, because if something happens, students can't contact parents. Of course, the schools have phones, and that's how they did it before. What if you... Okay, so I'm going to show you some responses. No, not at all. From experience, there are teachers that just don't care about certain students, and if they call their mom to let them know there's an issue, they can't. Maybe just in class, but definitely not completely taken off that person. I think they shouldn't lock up phones because what if someone has an emergency? How are they going to call their parent? Well, the schools have phones, so I don't think that's an issue. Okay, but it looks like a lot of us are writing down some ways with, sorry, let me take that a step back. Our thesis needs to have your reasons hinted at it. So let's go on. Okay, so take a side. That's what you do when you, oh, sorry, I skipped a one. Okay, so schools shouldn't lock up phones would be a counter thesis here. Okay, So you see how I phrased that out. Schools shouldn't lock up phones, or schools should. That claim is very straightforward to the point. So when you write out a thesis, you are taking a stance. You take a side, and then you write out your side, your stance. What side are you going to argue? That's at its core is what a thesis is. It's your claim, it's what you think. And then you need to support it. So generally when we write out a thesis, in many of the papers you're going to be writing in your lifetime, you're going to write out 3 reasons of support for your stance, okay, inside that one claim. Now we're going to use the cell phone example to write our thesis. So you can use any of the examples we brainstormed together. So if we go back here, you can see some reasons why. So you can use those. Okay. So what you do, what I would like for you to do now is just on like a spare sheet of paper to come out with 3 reasons that you would support your answer, your stance, your claim of should we lock up phones in school or should we not? So come up with 3 reasons. Just number them, 1, 2, 3. You should be able to write it on this Pear Deck slide. Okay, so I see a couple of people. You don't need to put long reasons, just sum it up in a couple of words for your thesis, okay, because it's still part of your claim. So you're just kind of like introducing the idea. So just put a couple of words like better focus, fewer distractions. That's a good one. Okay, so I still see us typing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is put it all together. So you combine your stance and your 3 reasons together in one sentence that makes sense. You need to make this sentence as formal as possible. So that means you do not use the first person speech, okay? We're not saying I, me, we, us. Those pronouns are not allowed to be used in this formal setting. Okay? So what you can say is combine your stance. Schools shouldn't lock up phones because blank, comma, blank, comma, blank. That's a very formulaic way to just kind of plug it in there. Okay, so this was some time to brainstorm. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next part. I see that some of us are still only halfway through, but that's okay because we're going to get to more later. So for writing these thesis statements, what is a thesis statement? A thesis statement is a claim. A thesis statement summarizes the arguments that you will make in your paper. It is the central point of focus in your essay. If you have a strong thesis statement, your essay can literally fall into place. Your essay follows the order of your thesis. Okay, so your thesis is like the spine. Everything comes off of it. The thesis is like the interstate. All of the roads branch off of it. Okay, it lays out very clearly at the beginning what the argument that you're going to be making in your paper. If you make a strong thesis statement, you know exactly what you're going to be writing about. It is the most important sentence in your paper. We can look at a thesis statement and know exactly how the rest of your paper is going to be. It lets the reader know the main idea of the paper, and it answers the question, what am I trying to prove? Okay, so that doesn't mean that it's a factual statement, like it doesn't have statistics in it, like that kind of fact, but it's a claim that you're going to prove throughout your paper. Such as schools should lock up phones. So what's the format of the thesis statement? Your thesis statement should be the last sentence of your introduction paragraph, be restated or rephrased, paraphrased in the conclusion in your essay. It should be concise, it shouldn't be very long, and it should be written in formal language. So these are all of the requirements. What questions do we have so far about that? Okay, so your thesis statement contains 3 parts: the topic, then the argument, and then the so what. For example, gun control reduces the crime rate. Gun control is the topic. Then what is my stance? What is my argument about gun control? It reduces the crime rate. So what? Therefore, gun regulation is needed. Okay, so I've got those 3 parts. Here's another. The teaching profession is underpaid. The teaching profession is underpaid. That's your argument. Therefore, more money should be budgeted for public education. To write a thesis, you must have your research, and you must think about what your entire paper is going to be about. Okay, so you're going to be constantly referring back to your thesis throughout the paper so you can tweak it. Just because you write it at the beginning doesn't mean you can't edit it as you go. Oftentimes when I would be writing my research papers, I would have to change it as I discovered more research and as I developed my argument. And that's okay. Writing, before I move on, writing doesn't have to be set in stone. You should always be going back to other parts of it and revising it. You don't just start at the beginning and move to the end and then press submit. You can go back and forth. Okay. So if this is our frame here, the topic, this is our argument, should blank, and that's the so what in order to blank. In order to blank, blank should blank. Okay, so this is two different ways that you could phrase it. For example, this is the first one. All students should be required to take a music class in school in order to improve their academic performance. Or you can do it that other way in that frame, at the bottom one. In order to improve students' academic performance, they should be required to take a music class in school. Here's another example. The United States government should require all students to take music classes because it can improve their academic performance. Okay, we're not saying I think blank. Okay, we do not use the pronoun I in your thesis statement. Okay, no I. I know it's what you think because you just wrote it. So now let's put it all together, what we've just talked about. The three-part thesis contains your topic, your stance, and the three reasons to support your stance. For example, just like what we saw here, but now we're going to add on our three reasons. The United States government should require all public high schools to have metal detectors because weapons and violence in schools are increasing every year, comma, second reason, it would give parents and students peace of mind, that should be spelled differently, comma, 3, and assist in school management, period. Stance, topic, 3 reasons. Okay, so if I broke it down, I would know exactly what my paper would talk about. The first paragraph would be about weapons and violence in school increasing every year. The second paragraph would be, it would give parents and students peace of mind. And the third paragraph would be, it would assist the school management. Okay, and I know that's what my 3 paragraphs are going to be because they're the 3 parts of my thesis. So when you go to write yours, you're going to break it down in your thesis, and that's going to inform your reader what you're going to argue in your essay. What questions do we have about that? You want to send them to me in the chat, or you can ask them out loud. Okay, here's an example. And we're going to practice this. If our topic is year-round schools, and our stance is that year-round schools should be implemented, the 3 reasons: less time off to forget information, 2, it improves academic skills, and 3, it's more realistic for real-world experiences. So the first paragraph of my essay would be about what? Who can tell me?
Why year-round schools would be important?
No, it should be less time off to forget information. Okay, each part of your reasons, each one of your reasons is going to be its own paragraph. So the second paragraph would be how it improves academic skills. The third paragraph would be more how it's more realistic for real world experiences. Okay, so now I want you to be able to practice writing a thesis with this. So take all of these and smush them together into a good formal thesis. Let's practice now. And you can go back and use those sentence frames that I gave you a couple of slides ago. In order to blank, blank should blank. Blank should blank in order to blank.
For this one, are we doing it for the year-round schools, or are we doing it for while school shouldn't take phones?
We're doing it for the year-round schools and use the reasons that I gave you.
Okay.
What are you doing?
What do you think we're doing based on what you see on your screen?
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Okay, some of these are looking really good. I'm going to show you some responses in just a minute. Okay, so I've got 9 of 24 responses. 15 people haven't responded. Sonari, Levi, David, Anthony, Jose, Asia, Keyshawn, DeMichael, Jorge, Jalen, David, Artis, Ricardo, Reggie, Nasir. Okay, so I'll show you some responses. Here are some ones that I've starred. Year-round school should be implemented because there is less time off to forget information. It will improve academic skills, comma, and it is more realistic for real-world experiences, period. Okay, you did it very good. You followed that formula and you made it work. So you know that your first body paragraph is going to be about the less time off to forget information. The second body paragraph will be about improving academic skills. And the third body paragraph will be about how it's more realistic for real world experiences.
I'm back.
Okay. Okay, everybody. So what questions do we have about the information that we've just covered? None? We think that we're ready to practice?